Welcome back into the Sports Source. This segment brought to you by Madisonville Marine. Right now through November 18th, you can get a 75 horsepower and up 4-stroke motor with a free 3-year extended warranty. That is a total of 6 years warranty. You can also get a $500 credit on select Yamaha motors. Madisonville Marine, always great deals on boats, and they are your top Yamaha dealer. Great deals on motors. All right. He keeps our motor running here on the show. We get Bob Hodge,
and it's a
DJ, kind of a, yeah, you do have a Yamaha. All right. Bob Hodge, of course, freelance contributor to the Knoxville News Sentinel. I want to start with you, since you're new here today. Butch Jones in his 9th year as a head coach. He's never seen adversity like this. He's always started out his first year as his weakest, and he builds. I think a lot of people expected building this year. A lot of people expected huge building this year. But it doesn't look like, I said 7-5, and now that's looking a little hopeful. Can he handle this adversity? Do you think he will?
I think he will, but I think he's going to have to handle it he's going to have to learn as he goes with this kind of adversity, because you came from the Cincinnati program where, face it, nobody really cared. I mean, if they lost,
you were page 10.
Nobody really cared. If you won, nobody really cared. Now you are the #1 story for an entire state when it comes to sports. Apologies to the Titans and other people. And I think that is something he's going to have to learn on the run. He's going to have thick skin. And I compared it a little bit to the NFL. When a coach goes to one of the New York teams, the Jets or the Giants, everybody always says it is a tougher job than any of the others in the NFL because of the media. Well, this is the equivalent of that for Butch Jones. So can he handle it? You would think, because if he can't, you're probably close to some of these people who want you to run.
Here's what scares me a little bit, and it's true of Fortune 500 companies. Will, you're an entrepreneur. You've seen this in businesses as well. If you've had success doing X, you tend to want to go back to doing X. I know this works. It's worked before. Let's say Butch Jones coming in and saying, I have a foolproof plan. He believes in that plan. But if the landscape has changed, if other people are doing things he wasn't seeing in the MAC or Conference USA or Big East, I should say, maybe he needs to finesse, wiggle his philosophy a little, his strategy. It's tough. That's tough for leaders. A lot of leaders can't do it in business or in sports. Your thoughts on Butch Jones and being ready to move a little bit?
I think he's got to take a page out of a New York coach, Tom Coughlin. I mean, everybody knows when Tom Coughlin had a lot of pressure on him before their first Super Bowl, the players were walking out on him. They were getting tired of his antics and saying, we're not going to play for you anymore. Eventually, he had to come and say, I'm going to change who I am and how I work with the players and how the team is organized, and I've got to adapt to survive. And I think you have to come down to that point of, it's my way, my way, my way. But if your way is going to end up going out the door, and you want to still stay with your job, you got to figure out a way to adapt. And I think that's where this coaching staff needs to find itself right now, is what do we need to do to make things change?
I'm going to go Daniel first. Jimmy, I'm going to drop the next question on you, so hang on. Daniel, thoughts on Butch Jones being ready to adapt? And let's go ahead, while you say this, let's put up the schedule for Tennessee and what they've got left. You see the records of the teams that they've got coming up. Georgia, Alabama, Kentucky, all 4-1. Missouri's down there 4-1 on the road. Here's the thing about Kentucky that people need to remember that always think Kentucky's a breeze. You've always played Kentucky in late November when they have no depth. You're playing Kentucky earlier in the season. I think that's going to be more of a game this year. Daniel, can Butch Jones adjust, and will he?
I think he will. And he's done a good job when I was playing there in the season, keeping a dynamic environment, changing practice, changing things up to help our bodies out in recovery and things like that. So he knows how he can change in those areas. Now it's time to find out if he can drop his ego when it comes to deeply held beliefs that he has with coaching, to see if he can make the changes there. And I'm hoping that he does, because of course always optimistic about it. But it's going to go into, he's got to do a self-evaluation of himself to find out what are my issues, where have I made mistakes, and he doesn't have to come out and tell everybody is. Tell it to the team. Make sure you still got those guys behind you. Come out the next week ready to play.
Jimmy Helms, this is the big question that was going all over the place yesterday. Butch Jones has a pretty hefty buyout. He's in year 3. He would, if they get rid of him, they would be hiring their 5th coach in 9 years. If this thing doesn't turn around, could Butch Jones be gone at the end of the year? If not, which assistants are on the hot seat in your opinion?
I think it would have to be, they'd really have to go in the tank this year for Butch Jones to be fired. I'm talking about 4 wins. I think it'd have to be really bad. I think he's going to get the 4th year, and the 4th year is going to be critical to him.
Yeah.
To me, when I look at things, to me the most underachieving group out there is the wide receivers. So I think there's a concern right there at that position, and I still think that there's some proving that Mike DeBoer needs to do as an offense coordinator.
Guys, very quickly on assistant coaches. And I'll keep Daniel out of it since he played for those guys.
Oh, I mean, I think, and unfortunately, that's kind of a lifeboat for a lot of coaches.
Yeah.
You throw your assistants overboard. I think he's going to need to. And can I just address one thing real quick?
Very quickly.
A lot of coaches, yes, Tom Coughlin changed. I think the list is 10 times as long as coaches who don't want to change from what they do.
Yeah. Especially if they've had success.
Yes.
Again, it's very difficult. If you know you can win doing this, even if things change, well, I'm going to go back to doing this. You call it ego a little bit. That word got thrown out. I think that's a good way of phrasing it. All right, when we come back, what the heck's wrong with Tennessee's passing game? We'll talk about that. And is Josh Dobbs regressing? How much of that should be put on Mike DeBoer? Come on back on the Sports Source.
From East Tennessee to the Carolinas, no job is too big for Benedict Construction. Patios and decks, custom remodels, even custom homes. With a reputation for excellence, rely on the custom work of Benedict Construction.